fact that
I
the
like
biggest one's probably
turtles.
200, 300.
I'm an 11-year-old school kid with a love for motorsport and a deep
Fuck
hatred for this
yeah.
mop-headed Manus. It was during
Fucking
this year where I
cars.
was fully into F1, V8 supercars,
Okay.
and NASCAR. And this is where I bring in that last one. We would get 2 feature films in the year 2006. One
Why
was
does he say-
Talladega
why does he say
Nights,
with a
which
Z?
came with an abundance of catchphrases and movies. Thus, it was a popular film, and somehow managed to resonate with a lot of racing fans. Kinda. Sorta. Not really.
Kinda.
But the film from that year that I want to talk about was Cars. Now, I know what you're thinking. This has got to be a piss take, right? Well, this was a film that came out around the right time when going to the theatre with a family was an occasion, and that you didn't have to forfeit a limb and sell one of the family members to go and see it. And like I said...
I never watched Cars in the theaters. I don't even remember the first time I watched Cars, honestly. I just remember it just being there. You know?
This came out when I was around 11 years old, when I liked
I
NASCAR,
was
and was
6.
watching whatever highlights I could on a Sunday
I did not
Arvo
know
on a
NASCAR.
TV in New Zealand, hoping in vain that Dale Earnhardt Jr. would win a championship. But I'm getting off topic here. So, let's get back on track here, and I'll tell you why I think that Cars is a better racing film than you may remember it to be. So, the film starts out at the final race of the season, where we're introduced to our hero, Lightning McQueen, who is voiced by Owen Wilson.
yeah.
The race is being held in what looks to be Bristol Motor Speedway, if it was scaled up and had stands for cars. But seriously, how do these cars even get out if they're in the middle of the aisle? What if they got to take a piss? Oh, come on, that's stupid. Cars don't... And in a circumstance which never really happens in real life, 3 cars are tied for the season points lead heading into
what
the
do you mean?
final
This happens
round,
every
making
year.
it an effective winner-takes-all situation. The 3 contenders are the King Strip Weathers, who is based on a Plymouth Superbird and voiced by the one and only
yeah.
Richard Petty. The second driver is Chick Hicks,
Yeah, I
based
like
on a
Chick
Buick stock
personally.
car from the
Chick
early
is
90s,
badass.
and voiced by Michael Keaton. And the third car was, of course, Lightning McQueen. McQueen makes
Fuck
his way up through the
yeah.
pack and catches up to the King and Chick, before he's dumped in the infield by Chick. Chick then sets off the big one, where McQueen proceeds to annihilate the laws of physics. But seeing as how this is an animation film, we gotta give it some leeway, right? I mean...
Yeah.
This ain't driven. So after the caution was thrown,
never seen
McQueen
it.
doesn't pit for tyres, and by the start of the last lap, McQueen has a monstrous lead over the field. Victory looks certain, but we're only 8 minutes into the film. So what do you think happens?
Checkered flag, here I come.
Oh, shit!
McQueen is blowing a tire! And with only 1 turn to go, can he make it? You fool!
You fool!
So McQueen dry humps his way to the line, and the
Come on.
eventual winner was, apparently, all 3 of them. And that there will be a tiebreaker event in California the next week, which I kinda don't get. Like, I mean, crowd's there, track's there, come on. 10-lap slugfest to decide the thing. No? Too logical? Okay, I'll go f*** myself. After the event,
What the fuck was that? Too logical? Okay, I'll go fuck myself. That's funny as hell. Alright, baby.
McQueen makes an appearance at the sponsor's tent, looking equally as pissed off and bored as any other racing driver in real life.
Well, you know, race cars don't need headlights because the track is always lit.
And after this, McQueen
Okay,
and
what
Mac
was
head
that?
off to California, trying to beat Chick there cause...
What the
I don't
fuck is
know,
that?
Big Willie syndrome, I guess. But this is curtailed when McQueen insists Mac drives non-stop to California, violating every union right that ever existed. Mac just about falls asleep before 3 tuners and a drag car with bird flu come by and wreak havoc. McQueen falls out of the trailer and loses Mac. After looking everywhere for him and getting chased by
You're
the
not
cops,
Mac.
he ends up literally tearing through Radiator Springs, a rundown town in the middle of nowhere,
Fuck
and ending up in
yeah.
the Slammer. The world is shocked at the news of his disappearance, with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jay Leno, and Arnie saying he must be found at all costs. When McQueen wakes up, we're introduced to the other protagonist, Mater, a tow
Fuck
truck
yeah.
who's basically the embodiment of the southern stereotype. McQueen goes to
Fuck
trial
yeah, I
and is
love
eventually
Mater.
forced to repave the road that he wrecked the previous night. He tries getting a 5-day job done in just 5 minutes, which incidentally is the same method I used in making this video, and evidently the road surface was about as terrible as you'd expect. They tell him to repave the road, but McQueen obviously tries to pull the I'm a celebrity and I deserve preferential treatment deal. But Doc Hudson Well, he ain't buying that He challenges McQueen to a race around a makeshift track which still has more character than Sochi.
Fuck
Seems to be
yeah,
a one-horse race until McQueen finds out the hard way why slicks don't really work on a dirt track. So he's forced to scrape up the shitty road and redo it again. And
Fuck
this
yeah,
time,
you gotta turn
he
right
does a
to
good
go
job.
left.
In the small time he has off, he tries driving on dirt again before Doc comes by with some advice on how not to eat dirt on... dirt.
I'll put it simple. If you're going hard enough left, you'll find yourself turning right.
Oh, right. That makes perfect sense. Turn right to go left. Yes!
Yes!
Thank you! Or should I say no thank you? Because in opposite world, maybe that really means thank you.
Does your plug-in fade too fast? Try.
God damn. Bro, what is this ad? What is this?
God, he's a dick. So
Yeah, he
after
is.
doing a decent job with the road, Sally, the 911 from earlier, invites him to stay at the Cozy Cone Hotel before Lightning engages in a little small talk.
Yeah, it's like a clever little twist. The motel's made out of caution cones, which, of course, cars usually try to avoid. But now we're going to stay in them. That's funny.
How to pick up chicks 101 here, folks. After a
Yeah,
night
there
out
you
tractor
go.
tipping and almost getting torn up by an angry combine harvester, McQueen learns the importance of rear view mirrors in rusty old cars. I think. Later on, McQueen finds out that Doc was a little more than just a doctor in the middle of nowhere.
Fuck yeah.
3 piston cups.
Fuck yeah.
And I guess now is a good time to bring up the fact that this character was voiced
Not
by
bad.
Paul Newman. Newman loved racing about as much
know
as
who
you
this
could
guy is.
imagine,
I don't
and
know
had done some
NASCAR.
racing himself, including a stint
I
at
know,
Le
like,
Mans when he
Kevin
almost
Harvick,
won
like
the
Jeff
event,
Gordon
had
and
it
all
not
them.
been for the somewhat questionable entry of the Whittington brothers. So it was perfect to have him voice the character of a racing legend, the fabulous Hudson Hornet. Actually, with this film, there are some astounding people with voice acting roles. Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mario Andretti, Darrell Waltrip, Michael Schumacher. Yeah, Schumi had a legit role in this film. But back to the movie,
know
after
any
a
of
wreck
them.
that saw him ousted from the sport, Doc wants nothing to do with motor racing, and just wants McQueen out of there before he makes a racetrack or bases his team out there or something. I don't know. Sally and McQueen take a drive off into the middle of nowhere before reminiscing over why the town gets no visitors, namely the interstate that bypasses the town
Yeah.
and killed off any traffic coming through. When trying to retrieve an errant tractor, McQueen catches Doc putting his old racing tires through its paces. The art of
You
drift.
know what though? It's an interstate going through the middle of nowhere. Let me just go back real quick. Just so I can kind of defeat this logic real quick. It's an interstate going through the middle of nowhere, right? Why don't they put up a sign on the interstate, right? That says like all the things, right? Like how it normally would, where if you're on an interstate and you're going by and there's a town on the side of the interstate that you don't know about, maybe you're low on gas, maybe you need food, whatever the fuck it is, there's a sign that says next exit, food, gas, tires, all these fucking things. I bet they'd get people coming to the fucking town again. I'm just saying that could maybe fix their problem.
Or reminiscing over why the town gets no visitors, namely the interstate that bypasses the town and killed off any traffic coming through. When trying to retrieve an errant tractor, McQueen catches Doc putting his old racing tires through
Fuck
its
yeah.
paces. The art of drifting is shown off, which intrigues McQueen, and subsequently
Yo, that shit, that scene right there, watching it back, I watched this back yesterday, that scene actually gave me shivers, bro. That shit was fucking badass.
he asked
watching
Doc
Doc
why he
race,
quit when he was at the
and
top of
this
his
song
game.
that was
Of course, he was deemed obsolete after his accident, and management just went for the next rookie in line.
They quit on me.
I guess we kind of had to keep that
So
in mind
sad.
whenever we give Kimmy crap about his motivation in Formula 1. So Doc tells McQueen to off, and he promptly finishes the road, thereby allowing him to head to California for the race. But he stays around for a little bit, gets himself some new tyres, a paint
Fuck
job,
yeah.
organic fuel from a VW bus voiced by the great George Carlin, and some other shit as well. Support local business, kids. But Doc, bitter and jealous over other cars being happy, calls the media to tell them McQueen's location. Everyone descends upon Radiator
Yeah.
Springs, and McQueen is
He did
escorted.
something for everyone. Doc's mad because McQueen didn't do nothing for him, man. He did something for everyone else.
To California for
He
the
just
big
pissed
race,
off
without
Doc
having a
because
proper
Doc's
chance to say
insecure
goodbye
about
to the town folk.
the
In California,
fucking
McQueen
whatever
struggles to maintain
quitting on him.
focus, as his mind is still in Radiator Springs. He falls behind in the race before it is revealed that the folk of Radiator Springs had made their way to California to
Fuck
be his pit
yeah.
crew. Doc is the crew chief, and Guido on the tyres. And he would
Guido.
be needed, because McQueen would blow a tyre with a handful of laps to go. What follows is the greatest scene in racing film's history.
Hey, Tiny, you gonna clean his
Yeah.
windshield?
Fuck yeah. Say it. Say the line.
Take that, Red Bull. On the
Are
final
you
lap of the
kidding?
race,
He says, pit stop. Come on, man. He
McQueen
didn't
is
even
punted
say
off
the
by
line.
Chick, and it seems that the race is over for him, before McQueen remembers the advice that Doc gave him earlier.
Oh! Shivers!
McQueen saved it. He's back on
Fuck yeah!
Not gonna lie, that was awesome.
That
McQueen
was
is on course to
badass.
win the race before Chick dumps the king and sends him into an horrific rollover.
Oh my
McQueen
God,
slams
that's
on
so
the
terrifying.
anchors, letting Chick win so that he could push the king to the line to finish his last race. Not gonna lie, this may be a little bit sentimental. I'm not crying or anything, just off. Chick wins the title,
Fuck
but
off.
everybody is pissed at him. Dinoco don't want diddly to do with his ass, and
Yeah.
instead asks McQueen if he wanted to don the colours. However, he stays with Rusty's, only asking the owner of Dinoco to give Mater a chopper ride back at the Springs. So
Fuck
yeah, this is quite a
yeah.
film. If you're 11, which I was when it first came out, or was I 10?
No,
I
it's
don't know,
still
I'm
a
bad at math.
banger.
But the
What do you
point is that
mean?
even after all
I watched it. It was still a banger. Come on, man. All right, actually, we'll watch to the end.
these years, I keep coming back to this film for some reason. I guess because of the epic racing scenes, even if they defy the laws of physics, and the respect it gave to the racing personnel who were drafted into the film. Perhaps it being a racing film made by Pixar, it's the best of both worlds, isn't it? Kinda.
In it.
So a little while ago, I made a movie review
here we
on
go.
Cars, and why, even going into my adult years, it is still a film that holds a special place in my heart, and in the hearts of a lot of kids growing up watching that film and loving the sport. The story behind it was
Honestly, this one-
okay, I
this one
guess, but
wasn't
it
as
didn't
bad as
interfere
I
with the
thought it was.
racing aspect of the film, which, while exaggerated, was still an awesome spectacle to watch, and something that we all kind of go back to, even when you're in your mid-20s, living in a studio apartment. That sounds really depressing, doesn't it? So, as is so often the case, the success of the film bred a sequel. Two, actually. And while the third one was actually not too bad, the second one would turn out to be the runt of the litter. And that's me being kind to it. The film was released 6 years after the first one, and I was a little bit keen to see where it would go, but instead of a fitting sequel, what we ended up getting was such a discordant mess that I wouldn't be half surprised if it was designed by Matthew Bonotto's actual anus. But it had been a while since I watched this, so I decided to go back and review it, and see if it
honestly
was
didn't
still
think it
just
was
as
as
crap
bad
as I
as
remember
this
it to
is
be.
gonna
So
say.
come along everybody, let's start 2021 off with a
was
bang,
weird,
and let's take a
obviously.
gander
It was really
at Cars
fucking
2.
weird,
So the film
but-
starts out with Finn McMissile, secret agent, an
Finn.
Aston Martin DB5 ripoff, who is seeking to infiltrate an oil rig run amok with lemons, and a mad scientist Zundup named Professor Zundup. Real imaginative, folks. He's there to scope out the EMP emitter that these lemons have cooked up, and obviously to follow their plans for world domination and such. And was also there to rescue a fellow agent, but surprise, surprise, he did.
Wait, what the fuck?
He's then chased off the rig, fakes his death, and hang on, wait. What's going on here? Like, I understand introducing new characters and new subplots is a good thing for movies, but what is even going on here? The next scene sees Mater and
Well,
McQueen
ship's
catching
looking
up
for
after
him,
Mr.
man.
Car Chow won his 4th Piston Cup. He's also still playing hide the dipstick with Sally, and has
won his
relocated
4th
himself full-time to
Piston
Radiator
Cup?
Springs, where he has also set up his new
Sheesh.
racing headquarters. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Sir Miles Axelrod, a gas-guzzling turned sunray-eating
Miles
electric car,
Axelrod.
creates a new field called All in All, and organises a World Grand Prix to promote it. He invites all of the world's best race cars to
Fuck
partake
yeah.
in something akin to the Race of Champions, if it actually had the world champions in it. I'm looking at you, Sir Lewis. McQueen initially doesn't want to take part in it, content with spending the off-season with his lass, and taking a break from it all. That was until he hears Francesco Bernoulli talking smack on TV. Caveman DNA starts rising up, and so McQueen eventually agrees to go over there and prove that a stock car is somehow faster than a Formula car on a road course. Yeah, I like that logic. And so McQueen drags along Mater and the other douchebags
true.
to the first round in Japan. Not gonna lie, these scenes actually look awesome. GG Pixar. So they get to the inaugural gala to open the event, where all the world's press are there, as well as the races for that series. I mean, duh. And this is where we
Damn,
discover that
that
there
was
is actually
hella
still a
cars.
decent array of real-world motorsports people in the movie. For most people, this scene features Lewis Hamilton and Jeff Gordon talking to McQueen. But depending upon what part of the world you're from, Gordon is replaced with either Mark Winterbottom, Fernando Alonso, Vitaly Petrov,
Bro,
Jan
what?
Nielsen, Mamo Rojas, or Sebastian Vettel. Not gonna lie, that is an impressive lineup. But the praise doesn't last
don't
too
know
long
any
here.
of those
McQueen and
names,
Mater
but that was a
finally
lot of
meet up
different
with
fucking
Francesco,
people in
who
cars,
drones
just for one
on
scene.
and on about how good he is, and about how he's the best in the world, and that nobody could surmount him. Jesus Christ, I'm getting mega Fernando vibes out of this guy. Meanwhile, that secret agent from earlier turns up and starts scoping the joint, where
Yeah,
he's
why the
joined by
fuck is
Holly
this guy here?
Shiftwell. Great name, guys, just Yeah. They're both on some secret mission here, where those lemons from earlier plan to use the EMP emitter at some point. And of course, it's their job to save the world from an AMC gremlin, because this was the best script they could write. But after Mater pisses on the main stage, everything, as you might imagine, gets thrown into jeopardy. Mater goes and gets himself cleaned up, while at the same time, an American spy is waiting for one of those other spies to meet him. Luckily for him, however, the lemons beat the shit out of him, only for Mater to drop in out of nowhere and save his ass. That American spy puts the tracking device on Mater, putting the fate of the world in his hands, because in movies like this, you always have to give the responsibility to someone whose territory and IQ does not extend outside of a Bud Light, right?
Is she American?
Look out, ladies. Mater's fitting to get funky.
Extremely.
You know, I'll level with you guys. This pretty much is exactly how folk outside of the United States view you guys. Come on guys, embrace the southern stereotype. But by pure dumb luck,
Jeez,
Shiftwell
bro,
is
come
under
on,
the
man.
impression that Mater is the American spy that they're looking for, despite the glaring oh so obvious signs that this was a terrible mistake.
We should find somewhere more private.
The American spy is taken to a warehouse, where he undergoes what pretty much every Mazepin hater endures. Although, instead of chopping off fingers, they give him some Olinol, which seems like a nice gesture for this type of occasion, but it is there where Zundap explains that while the stuff is decent, when hit with an EMP, it cooks them. Not in a good way, though. Although,
Come
this
on,
wasn't
man.
before they found out that Mater was the one who was now carrying the all-important info, or whatever the hell is going on, and so now, Mater has a price on his bonnet. Oh wait, you don't have one. Meanwhile, the first race of the World Grand Prix is about to start, and I mean,
yeah.
I guess this is what we wanted to see? Races from all
This
across
is
the
what I wanted
globe,
to
from
see.
all different types of disciplines, with the courses involving a mixture of different elements, to
Yeah,
find out who
fuck
is the
yeah.
best all-round racer out there. Francesco gets out to an early lead, before losing it to McQueen on the dirt section. The race goes on while the laws of physics are being somewhat assaulted. We're kinda digging this, and for a while, this is actually enjoyable. But surprise, surprise, that EMP emitter comes into the equation, taking out 3 competitors that makes everyone go, what? But when them lemons catch on to the fact that Mater is in the pits, they all make a beeline for him. When the secret agents try and
Wait, how
save
do the
Mater,
lemons,
he inadvertently blabbers into McQueen's radio, which ends up costing him the race. This pisses him off, telling him that he doesn't need him. So Mater is on his way back to
Damn, what the
Radiator
fuck?
Springs, but seeing as how we're only 43 minutes into the movie, and we've got the spy to resolve, what do you think happens? Yeah, more boom boom boom, more blah blah blah, with Mater now dragged into this whole thing proper. And through blind luck, they end up in Paris, where they meet Finn's informant, Tombe. Yeah, I wish this was an homage to Patrick Tombe. I really, really do. But it's not. Anyway, Tombe tells them that he's been shipping a whole heap of parts to the mastermind behind the EMP emitter, and that the most recent shipment had been dispatched to Italy, which by sheer coincidence was where the next race of the World Grand Prix was situated. Francesco is the hot favourite heading into the race given his form from the first race, and well, Italiano. The race gets underway amid an awe-inspiring backdrop, Francesco taking the early lead before we go back to the spy subplot again. So Mater has been sent to infiltrate a meeting in disguise, although the mastermind behind all of this is not present, and the EMP emitter takes out yet more cars during the race, causing a multi-car wreck. Meanwhile, up the front, McQueen beats Francesco to the line to tie things up in the standings, heading into the final race in London.
Fuck yeah,
However,
McQueen.
with yet more cars blowing up during the race, this suggests that all in all ain't all that it's cracked up to be. Axelrod lifts the requirement to use all in all, but McQueen sticks to his guns and declares that he will continue using it going forward. The Lemons meanwhile catch wind of this and come to the conclusion that Lightning
why,
McQueen must die.
Wait, why, though?
Meanwhile, Mater, McMissile and Shiftwell are taken prisoner after their cover was compromised, which, I mean,
Wait,
I
why
wasn't
would he
exactly
keep using all
protesting,
of
seeing as how the finale in London
all
was about
the
to
other
kick
colours
off,
are
with
blind.
Francesco McQueen duking it out for the title. Francesco takes an early lead, before McQueen would eventually pass him before the end of the first lap before, oh, for the Lemons attempt to use the EMP emitter, however, for whatever reason, it doesn't blow up McQueen. But in their infinite wisdom, they planted a bomb in McQueen's pit, just in case. Mater comes to the conclusion that this wasn't gonna settle, and so he Forrest Gumps his way out of there, and goes off to save McQueen. But unbeknownst to Mater, the bomb that was
Fuck yeah,
supposedly in the
Mater.
pits was actually on him. He tries to stay away from McQueen at all costs, all the while McQueen is trying to catch up to him.
He
they
has a
chase around
bomb
on
on
track,
him,
Mater
bro. Like,
deploys his
what?
jets, and okay, that's it. Nah, I'm done with this movie. Forget this. I'm done. Well, hey,
True.
look, for the sake of wrapping this
Okay,
whole thing
true.
up, I might as well soldier on with this. So, in a bid to try and deactivate the bomb, they find out it's voice activated, and that whoever activated the bomb wasn't there. The lemons corner them before big ol' Red comes in with his big ass hose and wipes them all out. Can I even
yeah.
say this in 2021?
Yeah,
All the
you can say
while,
that.
Mater figures out who is the mastermind
did,
behind
came in
all of
with his
this.
fucking hose
Turns
and
out,
fucking
it was
blew him
Axelrod. You know, the guy that founded the whole all-in-all thing. Apparently, this whole thing was conceived as a way to make alternative fuel look bad, and force everyone to go back to using oil, because I mean, that makes sense, I guess. Mater plays a game of chicken with Axelrod to force the bomb's deactivation, and wouldn't you know it, Jesus, some people just don't deserve to be in Hollywood. And so the day is saved. McQueen and Mater are friends again. Mater receives a knighthood, I'm done. And when back at
He gets
Radiator
a
Springs,
knighthood?
it turns out the reason McQueen
Okay, I
didn't
don't
get
remember
cooked
that.
is because that all-in-all stuff never made it into his car, with it instead being replaced with the all-natural hippie juice from Fillmore. And finally, to round off the
Fuck
film,
yeah,
to
he was
compensate for
racing
the
on
fact there was no
Fillmore's
clear
fucking
winner at
gas.
the final race in
is
London, they
lit.
host a final one in Radiator Springs. Head-to-head, toe-to-toe. Alto e alto.
Wait, who
Or
wins?
however it goes. McQueen and Francesco battle it out once again. With McQueen getting the edge, victory is certain before the movie ends with Mater beating them out with those rockets. Yeah, this movie sucks just about as badly as I remember it. I mean, yeah, they got...
Yeah.
Billion times before that the first Cars movie was a tour de force. Don't at me, you know that I'm right. I look back on it as a film that satiated my thirst for motor racing as a child, all the way through to adulthood, which is really depressing to say out loud. It had an intriguing storyline, awesome racing sequences, and reminded us all that race cars don't need headlights.
Because the track is always lit.
I wasn't overly enthusiastic about Cars 2, because it sucked. The innocence of the first film had been lost, and we were completely teased for the entire film with regards to the racing scenes. I know it sounds petty to whinge and bitch about this stuff, but you cats seem to like that. 6 years after the release of this thing, however, came the sequel that not a lot of people were asking for. Unlike the
wasn't
first
great.
couple of
It could've
films,
been
I never saw
100
this one
times better.
theatrically, because by this stage, movie tickets were $20 a pop, and there are better ways of spending $20 in New Zealand. I'm just not sure I'm allowed to tell you exactly what they are. But whatever the case, the trailers seem to promise an intriguing storyline, giving me hope that they may have achieved the perfect ending to the trilogy. I did see it at some point through Netflix, I think,
third
but it had
one-
been 4 years since I've seen this thing, and if I'm honest, I
know
don't
if
remember it
it's
very
better
well.
than
And seeing as how people have been asking me to review this thing, I might as well respond in kind. So let's not beat around the bush anymore, let's take a look back at Cars 3. So the story starts out at the Motor Speedway
yeah.
of the
I'm
South,
watching
same
this
setting as the
tonight.
first Cars movie. And like that
I watched
time,
the
we're
first two last
focused
night.
on Lightning McQueen, who is now a 7-time Piston Cup champion, still dominating the
7
scene.
times.
Life seemingly about as good as can be. I mean, hey, a 7-time world champion,
A
still at the top of his
7-time
game. This is all very familiar.
That's
All we need is a
insane.
young fellow to come through and challenge his reign. Well, yeah, this film was ahead of you on that one.
Oh, it's Jackson Storm for the win.
You know, I find it amazing that this cat waited the whole race before breezing past them. Like, dude, come on. You didn't think to lap the field as some sort of statement? Or are you one of those people? Well, sorry, cars. Or whatever they
What?
are. Or the old timers, shall we call them, are perplexed as to how the hell someone can just walk past
go
them.
back because I was
This film
texting.
Speedway of the South. All we need is a young fellow to come through and challenge his reign. Well, yeah, this film was ahead of you on that one.
Yeah, this shit is lit.
Oh, it's Jackson Storm for the win.
That was
You know,
so
I find it
badass.
amazing that this
I
cat
wish
waited the
Jackson
whole
Storm
race
wasn't
before
such a
breezing
fucking
past them.
dick,
But dude,
though.
come on. You didn't think to lap the field as some sort of statement? Or are you one of those people? Well, sorry, cars. Or whatever they are. Or the old timers, shall we call them, are perplexed as to how the hell someone can just walk past them like that. McQueen goes to give him his congratulations. And that's when we find out, to the shock of nobody, that the new kid on the block, Jackson Storm, is a massive toolbox. But hey, you gotta have an antagonist in this film, and what better candidate to have than a young prima donna who looks like a squash Cybertruck? Although I can't imagine Elon backing this jackass.
That's true.
Storm is part of what I guess you can call the next gen of racers. In a nutshell, they're a young breed of drivers who exploit data and utilize training methods to get their edge over their competitors. This of course leaves racers like McQueen worlds behind. He tries to hang on to his reign, but Storm begins to dominate the scene. As more young racers join the scene, McQueen is starting to become more and more lonely on that grid, because the rest of those young racers are toolboxes too. In the final race of the year, McQueen puts in a valiant effort to get up the front. He takes the lead with 40 laps to go, but Storm walks past him as he begins to fade away. He tries desperately to keep up before the inevitable happens.
Oh, I can't watch this.
Fucking hell, that got dark, didn't it? McQueen's season ends with a massive wreck, and after having it been his worst season on record, many assume that it's time for McQueen to retire. I mean, it's kind of rude to go out publicly and say this person should be dropped, or this guy should retire. Like, where's one's decency in that? Only real pieces of work pull that kind of stuff. That's also how I make my living. 2 weeks out from the Piston Cup season opener, McQueen still hasn't made any decision on his future. Instead, he hunkers down in Radiator Springs, watching clips in his garage of Doc's old racing days as he ponders his own future. And then that's when Sally comes in to try and motivate McQueen out of his rut, telling him that the ball is in his court over his future, and that he shouldn't be afraid of failure, only afraid of not trying at all.
And by the way, I love what you've done with the place. I mean, the monster movie lighting and the musky air freshener. And don't let anyone tell you you're not working that primer, because wow.
Whoa. Just back up the sarcasm here for a little bit. This dude's going over a rough patch in his career and you're in here giving him shit over it? Don't enter in here with your Porsche privilege over this issue. Why do you need a hug or something? Anywho, McQueen remembers the story that Doc Hudson gave him in the first film of the series, of how others had quit on him after his big wreck, going after the rookies rather than sticking with and believing in him. McQueen realizes that if he were to go back racing, he needed to try something new to beat them young whippersnappers. Ah yes, screw him. I'll say when I'm done. Not the press, not Chick Hicks, in the time since the first film became the least liked motor racing pundit since Paul DeResta, and not that Caxton Storm or whoever he is. The next day, he, Mac, Guido, and the other dude, was it Luigi? Yep, Luigi. Anyways, they embark on a journey to the Rusty's Racing Center, and we're left with this sort of montage sequence that embodies some of the innocence of the first film. And I'm really digging this actually. They turn up to this new snazzy looking race center, and it was there where McQueen found out that Rusty's had been sold to a dude named Sterling. He seems a reasonable guy, and he's a big fan of McQueen. So, hey, works out well for both parties, right? Well, they give him a new wrap to make him look somewhat better, I guess. And McQueen is shown around the joint, which is pretty decked out with shit that you normally see at a convention, minus the heavy breathing eunuchs with greased hair standing in line for the VR stuff.
Wait. Whoa. Is that the simulator?
You know, I'll be honest, this is pretty much my reaction anytime I'm in one of these events, because my ego is that overpowering. So anyway, Sterling hitches McQueen up with Cruz Ramirez, a trainer in the Rusty's camp, who has been entrusted with the job of getting McQueen's old ass up to speed, looking to see whether he's still got some piss and vinegar in his fuel line and stuff. Actually, that would month the fuel line, so it's probably best that didn't happen. He struggles to get along in training, becoming increasingly impatient, and just wanting to get onto the simulator because that's just how males are built. We're dumb. So he gets onto the simulator, he completely Maldonados himself, and Sterling realizes that McQueen's future lay outside the racetrack. He presents McQueen with the grand plan of exploiting his name for monetary gain, milking the brand so they both can be rich enough to, I don't know, buy into the Haas Formula 1 team, because they'll prostitute themselves for anyone nowadays. Anyway, McQueen realizes that this means his retirement, with Sterling essentially saying that he's just not up to the job. In denial, Lightning coaxes Sterling into giving him one more race, saying that if he doesn't win at the season opener, he'll retire for good. If he does win, then he gets to choose when he gets to retire. Sterling agrees, and to help prep him for the race, Sterling instructs Cruz to suss him out and get him into shape. I guess. Putting his work in on Fireball Beach, where all the old greats used to race.
I can't wait to go back and watch
a beach, and then you drive.
mean, I thought my jokes were bad. Of course, a whole day of playing at the beach proved the lifelong theory that being good in a simulator doesn't necessarily translate to real life. McQueen lays the hammer down, but finds out he's still no faster than Storm. What a surprise. He's a bit despondent about the whole deal, despite it all being his own idea, before he realizes that a dirt track is just down the way, and that cutting his teeth there will surely help him get up to speed. And by sheer coincidence, there is a race happening that very weekend. McQueen signs up for the race, covers himself up so no one knows that he's racing in Hickville, America, and gets prepped and ready to kick ass, without first checking what kind of racing he had signed up for. And sure enough, being out in the sticks a little bit, the type of racing he signed up for was a figure-8 demolition derby race. And he's got ambulances, Winnebagos, and school buses that he's somehow got to yeet out of the race, without getting yeeted himself. Oh, and by the way, for the plot's sake, they managed to have Cruz thrown into the race as well. So you just know that someone's going to be driving home in a shitty mood. You know, for such a throwaway race, this was quite an entertaining one at that, I'm not going to lie. McQueen saves Cruz from almost certain death before... Oh shit, mate, you are dead. By sheer luck, he manages to cartel the school bus into the sign and out of the race, making Lightning McQueen the runner-up, I suppose, as Cruz takes the victory after being the last car running.
Another cleaning tip from Mr. Clean. Try Magic
Mr. Clean.
King C. Gillette.
Gillette. Trash. Trash. Oh shit. Yeah,
Well, this is awkward. Fans are buzzing and somewhat confused about the whole deal. Cruz is elated about winning her first race ever, and Lightning is... well, he's pissed. He goes off on a tangent against Cruz because that just seemed like the thing to do at the time. He laments the whole situation, taking his anger out on Cruz, and reminds her that she's just a trainer, not a racer. He breaks Cruz's trophy in the whole spiel, which in turn pisses her off.
I've wanted to become a racer forever. Because of you.
Didn't think that one through, didn't you, champ? Cruz heads off into the dead of night and leaves McQueen and Mac to sleep under a bridge because, of course, neither of them had the wherewithal to book a hotel, I guess. McQueen struggles to find motivation and binges TV in the middle of the night, which I can't blame him for because we've all been there, right?
Storm's chances of winning are 95.2%.
Oh, jeez, and I thought that Amazon stuff...
What the fuck was that? If you're getting that analytical, that's so dumb. 0.2? Oh. Don't forget about the 0.2. Say 95%. And if you have a 95% win chance, that's like, why the fuck are you even trying?
Oh, jeez, and I thought that Amazon stuff we had in Formula 1 was bad enough. So Lightning phones up Mater, searching for some kind of solitude and inspiration in a bid to beat Storm. Mater inadvertently mentions the fact that Doc Hudson, the man behind a lot of the tricks passed down to Lightning, was most probably taught those tricks from someone else. And so they head down to Thomasville to try and seek them out. They also pick up Cruz along the way after Lightning makes a heartfelt apology for being a martyr earlier on. They head down to the old dirt track to meet up with Smokey, Doc's mentor from them good old days. How this geezer outlived Doc, I don't know, but it's conventional to the plot, so I'll just ignore that shit for now. So they end up going to a tavern where they meet up with some more legends from Doc's time.
I didn't like fast women.
Nor did Walter Rule. They tell stories of how Doc beat them young whippersnappers from back in his time, including this one trick shot where he flipped over someone who was ramming him into the wall. Lightning is taken aback by these amazing stories, and also kind of sad that he never saw him so happy. Smokey shows off his collection of news clippings and other things that Doc had sent him over Lightning's career, telling him that managing his career was the best thing that ever happened to Doc. This inspires Lightning to train like hell, to find out what it is within him that Doc saw that he himself didn't. They try various things to help get the best out of McQueen, acknowledging that the bloke has kind of become 100 million years too old at this point. This includes swerving through hay bales and anchors and other junk that Guido could find, watching replays of Doc's old racing techniques which included drafting, trying to negotiate a field full of tractors, and running through the woods with no lights on in the middle of the night because, you know, simulators are overrated. Although the main task set before McQueen was a sort of handicap race where he's been given 3 laps to catch Cruz, who is doubling as Caxton Storm. After many tries and daylight burned, McQueen finally catches and passes Cruz. Until he doesn't.
Woo!
Jeez, way to kill the mood there, Sunshine. So Lightning and the gang head down to Florida for the opening race of the season. Those corporate boxes look amazing. I wonder who's in them. Starting off the back, things look pretty crappy for him, with no real chance of a victory. But remember, if he doesn't win this thing, his career is going bye-bye. And this being a Disney film, well, he's gotta win it, right? The green flag drops, and McQueen begins moving up through the pack. Everything's going decently, before Sterling instructs Cruz to return to the Rusty's Racing Center to train at one of them young prima donna rookies for next weekend's race, and reminded her that she is a trainer, not a racer. Oh boy, I got a feeling that Sterling's true colors have just been revealed. After a wreck that brings out the caution, McQueen demands that Cruz return to the pit, because he's hanging up his light years and giving the 95 to Cruz mid-race. Basically, he acknowledged that he can't beat Storm, but that Cruz probably could, and that this would be her only chance at the big time. It feels good to see a veteran, no matter how good, successful, and legendary they are, give a young promising rookie a shot on the main stage.
Yeah, that
Fernando, Kimmy, and after some teething issues, McQueen gets on the headset, takes the reign as crew chief, and helps get Cruz settled into a rhythm. Remembering the training drills that she and McQueen went through back in Thomasville, she works her way up to the front, and now Storm understands the threat at hand, and he's got to address it.
You can play dress up all you want, but you'll never be one of us.
God, he's a dick. Sheesh. Cruz begins to lose motivation, but McQueen immediately reminds her that she has gotten into his head, and that she effectively had the high ground. I think. She regains her composure, and now she's right on Caxton's ass.
Go on! Go on!
He like went back to acknowledge it.
Drafting in the same manner that Doc did back in the day. Something again that she learned by watching those old tapes. The last lap of the race, and the battle is on. She makes a move to the outside, but Storm is having none of it. Going toward the line, it seems for all money that Storm will take the victory, until Cruz remembers another one of Doc's old tricks.
That's so sad. She fucking won. What a savage. Yo, let's be real though. It would have been way cooler if it was Lightning McQueen. Like let's be honest, it would have been way cooler if that was Lightning McQueen who fucking won at the end, not her, but you know, story or whatever the fuck.
That's why!
So she wins the race, and
Character development or I don't know, man.
all is right in the world. But not with Sterling, who wasn't too happy with how that all went down. Or rather, he tries to save face and recruit Cruz as a permanent racer for the Rusty's team. But Cruz, she basically tells him to get f***ed. This is music to Tex's ears, or whatever the hell cars have in this dimension. And Julie signs Cruz to race under the coveted Team Dinoco banner. Sterling is fine with it, I suppose. He's about to get on McQueen's case before an announcement declares McQueen as the joint winner, seeing as how he started the race. I mean, that's kind of like what happened with Eric Almirola. Only difference is McQueen did it voluntarily, so that he wouldn't be venting on the bus ride back home. What this meant was that McQueen could now decide exactly how long he wanted to race for. That was part of the deal. It's also been made easier now that Tex had bought Rusty's from Sterling, giving McQueen a cool boss. Rusty's gets a decent owner. Cruz and McQueen are now teammates. And they all lived happily ever after. Now, actually, how do we sum up this film? Well, in about as basic a sense as is humanly possible. What made the first film great was that it was the journey of a young racer who thought that winning was everything before realizing that it wasn't. Cars 2 was more about the importance of friendship, but was drowned out by some really average storytelling that kind of drowned in the randomness of it all. And then we have this film, telling the story of a veteran who understands the importance of racing not just to himself, but to others, about what is possible when one's back is against the wall, how everyone with the potential deserves that chance, about how Jackson Storm's an asshole, about how race cars don't need headlights.
Still a badass,
because the track is always lit.
That was the first film, I know, but I had to bring it back for old time's sake.
Yeah. Shout out Josh Revel, man.